know, like it was
How much time did you spend with you?
not as much as my primary care physician has. This was the first time I've ever seen with her, but like when she was when she was with me at the time, yes, she spent more time than my physician actually ever does when we're together.
Okay.
And so she does. She took the time and she sat with me, because when I go and see my primary care physician, it's usually the nurse who sits with me the longest. I go and see him for 20 minutes. I see him for 5 of those 20. The 15 is with the nurse. And so
Okay.
she actually spent more time with me and was able to understand what was wrong with me better than the physician.
She listened.
Yes.
You gonna say something?
This is more a thought, but I think maybe nurses who got to this point of education, maybe they also had some years before where they actually worked as a registered nurse, like in hospitals, so on the bed, like with a lot of patients, and I think they have a lot of experience, like with people and their symptoms. Like, so I think it's actually a very interesting mix, like, because it really combines this practical experience and knowledge, and then plus a new education.
So the first nurse practitioners that I worked with were exactly like that. These were women, okay, who had been in the intensive care unit, on the medical surgical floors, in the emergency room, who then became nurse practitioners, and they had years, okay, of clinical decision making, of watching patients, of listening to patients. That's not true today.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I think I would be at the moment. I'm an example for this. For example, in case now I would not go back to practice. I want really bad to go back to midwifery. Like, but if I now just would continue more on the a career level, because I have 2.5 years in a delivery room, which is still experience, but it's actually nothing compared to other midwives. So I could give this example, which then I would not have a lot of practical experience. But I don't want to that's not my goal.
So if you're a very smart woman or man coming out of the University of Georgia as a senior, graduating, and saying, I actually now want to be a nurse, the nursing schools, some of the best universities, Emory and other universities, now have programs for undergraduates who have not done any nursing. In 3 years, they become an RN and a nurse practitioner. They go off, they get a nurse practitioner's degree, they've never done any nursing. Okay? And guess what? In my opinion,
That's wrong.
they're not as good as the graduates.
Is that like a BSN?
BSN is bachelor's. The BSN is at the end of the first degree. They
Okay.
get an RN and their bachelor's degree.
Confirmation.
Yeah.
I was going to add another example of this. So at where I worked formerly at the cancer center, they had I think it was like 8 oncologists and then 1 nurse practitioner. And you know, all the patients loved all of the oncologists, but every single one of them had this love for her and how amazing she was towards them, because she really, you could see a difference with how she was with her patients. And even patients that weren't hers, and she really cared. So I see this huge difference between the nurse practitioners and the oncologists. Even like, she knows the same amount that they do, but the difference is how she actually interacts with her patients.
Some of it is time.
Yes.
So nurse practitioners and advanced nurse specialists tend to take more time, okay, with the patient. And if they're good listeners and they have good clinical skills, then they're hearing more versus that person who's rushed. Okay? The nurses will contend that those who come out of a history of nursing have learned by the bedside skills that unfortunately a lot of physicians miss. Okay? And so they're able to relate. That's not all physicians. Some of us would like to think that we do a pretty good job, okay, of talking with patients and having that skill set, but we know that nursing, particularly past nursing, really have the skills. So in the substitution, they substitute for physicians. Their main aims are to reduce the workload of doctors, the nurse practitioners in oncology units, the nurse practitioners in diabetic clinics, okay, who do a tremendous amount of teaching and are wonderful with the patients. They are reducing the workload of the doctors. The doctors are making other kinds of decisions. They can also supplement, and I think we've already touched on that, something called clinical nurse specialists are like nurse anesthesiologists. Okay? These are people who have RN degrees, who go on to do a 2-year master's degree, but in a very special way. And I was reading yesterday that 65% of all anesthesia in the United States is done by clinical nurse specialists. done just routine screening and you need some anesthesia. If you're delivering a baby in a hospital and somebody needs some anesthesia, you're gonna get a nurse anesthetist in the United States.
Can I ask you something? Do they get the same pay as an anesthetist?
Oh, no. They get much less pay, but that's an excellent question.
Yeah, so actually I'm just thinking the whole thing is to get more or less the same quality but on the cheap.
That's part of it, and so the question is how much, and I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about these African cadres. Okay, how much education and background does somebody need, and yet you don't pay them? You do the same job, but don't pay them. So if the nurse practitioner is doing all that work, and nurse practitioners make good money in the United States, but they don't make the same money as a family physician or a general internist. Okay, I think these people are usually not used as much in psychiatry. Okay,
What?
the mid-levels, the mid-level folks are not used as much in psychiatry. Though the mid-level social workers who have some psych training could be
Well, over
said
here,
to be
there's actually a
similar.
movement trying to use them quite a bit in psychiatry because there's a lack of psychiatrists, just like there is in many countries, especially for ongoing chronic prescriptions. One of the things that's a bottleneck in psychiatry is people who are on an antidepressant for years and have to come in every 3 to 6 months to renew it. In a sense, if nothing has changed, you don't really need that, that time. So they're trying, and like you mentioned, the Israel Medical Association blocked it almost entirely.
That's a very good example
Yeah.
of how a mid-level practitioner can do that evaluation, write that prescription, and not, because there's not going to be much change.
Yeah.
This is from OECD data. Okay, now what's a physician assistant? Right? So we've talked about nursing, right? And nurse practitioners and advanced clinical nursing. So physician assistants have been characterized as new healthcare professionals who, while not a doctor, work in the medical model with the attitude, skills, knowledge base to deliver holistic care and treatment under defined levels of supervision.
Over here, it's usually medical students, I like to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Over here in Israel, it's usually medical students who work as physicians' assistants, even though I think maybe you're intending something a bit different.
Right, this is actually a whole new group of people that are starting in Israel. Okay, they haven't written the laws yet. As of 2015, they've agreed to it. The Ministry of Health has agreed to it, but there's no legislation yet. Okay, the regulations haven't been written. PAs, so PAs and nurses, nurse practitioners, there's a historical group in the U.S. And since the U.S. is really where a lot of this started, nurses came out of nursing, the profession of nursing, right? Mostly women, right? There are many fewer men who are nurses. We are always trying to get men to go into nursing, right? Because they make wonderful nurses, particularly in areas of acute care. And one of the best nurses I ever saw was on OBGYN. Okay? He was one of the nicest, softest, big guy, he was lovely. We all loved him. Came out of nursing, came out of being women's advancement, right? In the medical profession, because there were very few women as physicians. PAs came after the Korean War in the U.S. when the medics came back from being out on the front lines. The medics were mostly men. They came back with tremendous numbers of healthcare skills in the medical model. They could take care of injuries, they could take care of burns, they could take care of acute illnesses, right? That's very much the medical model versus sitting and listening, the nursing model of sitting and listening to the patient and caring for the patient. They started physician's assistants. And the interesting thing now is they are more similar than they've ever been. So nurse practitioners and physician's assistants almost always completely overlap. Though state legislation, sometimes one group can be more independent than the other. Yeah.
What is their education?
So their education is, we would call it a first degree, and then probably 24 months to 30 months after that first degree as a master's degree, as a second degree, mostly clinical training with some didactic work.
And what are these people who didn't get into med school, or
Great question. What do people think?
like why would you do this if you could actually get off, like maybe add some years and then you're a physician?
It really could be because you couldn't get it in.
What?
It really could be because you couldn't get in.
Okay, so that's one option, right? You didn't get into medical school, let's see if I can get into PA school.
Requirements to go to med school are sometimes hard, maybe.
Yeah, they are. And there's one that's really, I actually harder on the PA side, but yes, they're harder, the harder sciences, yeah.
I don't know if this is true, I've just kind of heard that they have easier schedules, like less intensity, but also like very high salaries.
Couple things. Number one, some people think about a PA if they didn't get into medical school. The academic criteria are a little less than for MDs. However, they require a lot more free-skilled jobs to get into PA school. So it's not just what we would call shadowing and seeing what medicine's all about, but they really want you to have hands-on, several years of hands-on work, working with patients. So becoming an emergency medical technician, riding the ambulances, being an ambulance person, being a medic in the Army, working in a hospital system where you have hands-on working with the patients. And they require a lot more of that, the PAs do, because they then feel they don't have to teach you those skills, which is one of the reasons they can condense the time. Why would people want to go to PA school and not med school? Number one, they work better hours and they make good money, not the same money. They don't have to make the final decision, right? They really work with physicians, they work under the physician's license, yes, and so they don't have to make that final decision, and they make very good money. And if you're a parent or have a two-career family, you work a nice 8 to 10-hour day. You can work in surgery, you can work in orthopedics, you can work in family medicine, and pediatrics. Nice job. And so there are many people today saying, why should I go hassle as a doctor? I'll just go work with a doctor.
I'm sorry that I asked again a question, but I don't think we have that, so I know the first time I hear that. So is it also possible after you make physician assistant to make like to transfer it to doctor, like let's say the last 2 or 3 years?
Yes.
So it's actually people who say, okay, I didn't have this in med school, I first do physician assistant, and then maybe I see if I can continue on this.
So both nursing and physician's assistant, there are always people who decide they want to go to medical school.
Okay, and then it's shorter a little bit, or?
Probably not too much. Sometimes they might get some credit for some of their science, but most of the time they make them go back all the way through. Okay? Now, why would somebody who's been a nurse or a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant want to go back and do medical school?
Because they want to have the decision, maybe they want to have more power, more responsibility.
Yeah. They want to be head of that team. Okay, they want to do some things that they didn't think they were able, that they wouldn't mind doing, but they really want to be that decision maker. And so you see that in many medical school classes where somebody has been a nurse, and a very good one, or a PA and come back.
Do people do it the other way around also, like do doctors become PAs?
Oh,
gosh, I was just wondering.
The money is way too good. Now,
What is, I know there's like a huge issue with burnout.
But can I say something?
Sure.
There is a case when it happens. It's when an immigrant doctor goes to a country like United States.
Yes.
Then like, people, for example, from Colombia, doctors from Colombia, most of them, they go to the United States and they work as a nurses. And yeah, because we need to cross over the requirements to be effective, but that's the case.
It's a very good case, actually. Yes.
All the knowledge that they know is already included in the knowledge of the doctor. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, scientifically or the theoretical things that we learn, all of the PAs learn as much as they learn a little bit less than doctors.
Yes. So one of the real differences between advanced practice nursing, okay, and PAs is that they don't learn the depth of science. Okay, I'm going to throw something out to you, and I want you to reflect on it at the end. I'm going to ask you that same question here's my hypothesis. What's the role of the future for physicians?
We're going to
Very
visit
little.
some.
Right?
Very little.
Yeah, the role of
I
what?
mean,
The physician versus PAs can do 80%.
Right.
Okay? They probably, by the way, PAs and advanced nurse practitioners probably do better jobs taking care of hypertension because they'll follow what we call guidelines.
Listen, surgeons are going to disappear. I think, because of the technology.
Technology.
Yeah, telemedicine,
Yeah.
nanotechnology.
Until it doesn't work and they have to open a belly.
Yes.
And that's an issue.
Yeah.
But it is an issue. 80-20. The difference, I think, between physicians and people is science. It's the depth of science, it's the reasoning about science. When everything is stable, okay, things are okay. When the delivery goes well, it's great. Okay, when the high blood pressure, you go through that algorithm and it's doing well, terrific. You have oncology, you now have a way of taking care of breast cancer, it's almost an algorithm, okay, and it's working out terrific, right? And even in psychiatry, you probably have things, easy depression works
Yeah,
fine,
skills.
right? But 20% of the time, it doesn't go by the book, okay? You have a psychiatric patient that needs 3 psychiatric drugs and is on 8 other medications for chronic disease. All of a sudden, you've got a complicated patient. You've got to know that physiology to the depth that hasn't been learned. Okay, it's an interesting concept. Okay, particularly in countries that can afford this kind of healthcare. Okay, now what if you're in a country that can't afford this layered healthcare? Would a country who's not as economically better to educate physicians' assistants and nurse practitioners who get paid less? They still know a lot, and they're very good at what they do. They're studies that have taken their skill set and seen their outcomes judged against physicians, they do just as well. Technically, you can teach a PA to do a colonoscopy, and technically, they are as good as a gastroenterologist. Okay? So, what's the role? And what do we do when we have to design a healthcare workforce? So let's keep going. So what's changing in the U.S.? We have some newly developed medical schools because of the numbers, for the reasons we talked about before. We're still trying to figure out what's the science base in medical schools. Well, if my hypothesis is right, and I may be wrong, it's going to be science that really drives physicians. As I can pick up my handheld and, it's going to tell me what I need to do, right? Anybody can be taught to do that. What about the innovative curriculum? We now have medical schools in the states going, oh, we don't need 4 years of medical school, just 3. We can all fit it into 3, and I'm saying, but there's more science, there's more scientific reasoning. We have to prepare people for what's coming. I didn't know about Ebola, I didn't know about HIV, it didn't exist when I went to medical school. I have to figure out how to deal with that. And some really smart physician had to say, when they first saw the first HIV cases, something's wrong right here. This is not working the way all these other things did. And that was actually done by physician observation, like a scientist.
So, but what about the innovative curriculum that does not necessarily shorten the time? For example, the double helix curriculum. So the would you comment about?
Right, it doesn't. I don't think it should shorten the time. I think we should deal with other learning that's more important. Yeah, I agree with you. Too few positions in medical schools. Americans are going overseas. Graduate medical education, residencies, we don't have enough positions. So if we don't get more positions in graduate medical education, we're not going to increase the number of doctors in the U.S. We have tremendous numbers of increases in nurse practitioner and PA programs, and they're very competitive to get into. And there's rise of something called Dr. RN programs. Anybody heard of those? So if you've already gotten a master's degree, you can now get a Dr. RN that gives you the ability to be absolutely independent and practice like a doctor. Really? There are increasing programs in the United States. I myself am not real happy with those programs, mostly because a lot of it is done online, and I don't believe that at that level you can actually educate clinically what you need to by doing it online. But that is another move by our nursing profession.
Like an MD?
Like an MD.
Called Dr. Nurse.
They're called Dr. Nurse.
I don't understand why we need all this big, when we can educate people to be doctors. And I do understand the PA and I do understand the RN, but to get that close to being a doctor, not better than a nurse, a little bit less than a doctor, why should we need that?
I agree. I think those women or men who want to become doctors should go become doctors. And because I'm not sure they're going to be teaching the Dr. RN the science and the scientific reasoning below that. It's not where they're coming from.
But where are they working? Who's gonna hire them?
They go out independently, they open
They
an
go
office.
independently, yeah. And I think, it goes back to that entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
so some entrepreneurs saw the gap. He saw people that were aspirational and he created a platform for them to study online and also, practice independently.
Right. And some of it, I have to tell you, is the women's independence. They still see medicine as male-dominated. There are a lot of women now in medicine, though the leadership remains male-dominated, and this is, I think, a group of women who are particularly active in that, and they're going to prove to the world that they can do this. So we'll see how the Dr. RN movement continues. Some of the programs are at highly prestigious universities. How about what's it changing in Israel? Well, there is now development of advanced practitioners in Israel, but as yet no regulations for PAs. So 2015 Ministry of Health, so this is now under the Ministry of Health. There are nurse practitioner programs for advanced practice folks, and they are much more specialized. It's much more controlled by the Ministry of Health in the areas that they need capacity. The other thing that's happening here in Israel that's been a problem is that with immigration coming into the country who are well educated, and many of them are nurse practitioners and PAs, there's no way of incorporating them into the Israeli healthcare system now. So they are losing that group of people. I also read an alarming statistic yesterday that upwards of about 25% or more of RNs in Israel don't do anything in healthcare, which means that we're educating a tremendous number of people in a profession that they are not using. And part of that is because of the very difficult environment that they work in, with not enough manpower, women power in the hospitals, and they're overwhelmed.
Not enough support.
Not enough support. Yeah.
And they also have the issue, which is also a global issue, but I think especially in Israel, about the violence against nurses and caretakers. There was this case just some months ago in the south where a nurse got burned.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are in other countries, but it's definitely a problem, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, it's not only in Israel, but I know in Israel, especially, like, they have really.
So government is not taking a look at that.
Not enough. I mean, they're trying to develop a zero tolerance policy, but it's not zero.
Yes. And they're not putting money into educating more mid-level and nurses. Okay? So if there were more nurses on the floor, and so forth, the burden wouldn't be so great, and maybe you could keep your nurses.
Just from personal experience, I mean, this is exactly my story. Like, I mean, I didn't do Aliyah, but I wanted to come here work, and like, I would have had to do. I mean, there is a way. I could have done 3 years of nursing, but it's in Hebrew, and it's very hard to get in. Like, it's also visa dependent. Like, which is understandable, but it's just you really feel they need people, and they actually are well-educated people in this country, but they don't let them work, and it's very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Unlike the physician. Okay? So what the government here is doing is they're finding ways to be more accommodating to international physicians, getting them licenses quicker. So if I wanted to go see patients, I could get, because I'm boarded and certified and licensed in the United States, I could get a license quicker, versus they're obstructing, our other care providers. So it's problematic. They've also added a 5th medical school, that's the one in Spot, and now there's talk about a 6th medical school.
Well, they just put down the cornerstone this week.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Mr. Adelson donated 100 million shekels, and there's a lot of politics behind that. It's in the Ariel University in the Samaria, so they put down the cornerstone there, not incidentally.
What's it called?
Wait, where?
In Ariel University, what used to be Ariel College, but also for political reasons became Ariel University. So there's a lot of politics having to do with that as well.
In the West Bank.
And yeah, it's
In the West Bank.
Close to the government.
well, it's
Where is that?
it's about to be honest, about half an hour east of Tel Aviv, of Herzliya. Everything's very close. It sounds far, but it's literally half an hour.
And one always worries when we do this, you know, the quality of our schools. We want to make sure that any of the medical school, nursing school, that the programs maintain the same quality. Or else somebody is seen as second, right? Not as good. And that's true in the United States as well. Okay, many of the new schools in the United States, or the osteopathic schools in the United States, somebody would say, well, they're not as good, you shouldn't go there. Well, wait a minute. You know, so we need to maintain faculty and so forth. And we need to find ways in Israel to find people who are well educated and well trained to bring them into the country, which is now being obstructed. It costs too much the Russians came in, and about half of them were able to practice as physicians.
But they're retiring now.
And they're retiring now, and that was costing for the, you know. Now I get to Africa. Okay, so I'm depending, and I know I'm taking a little more time here. So I get to Africa now, so I learned this yesterday, so the two of you could correct me. All right, I could not find much on South America, I looked specifically, and I couldn't find too much, but I found a little bit about Africa. Okay, substitute health worker, okay, is what they call them in Africa. Cadres of health workers who have taken on jobs, functions, and roles that are normally the tasks of internationally recognized health professionals such as doctors, nurses, and pharmacists. Okay, in poor countries that are unable to pay and retain internationally marketable health professionals, nurses and MDs, is it a feasible option to consider delegating critical skills and functions to less academically qualified practitioners? It's a pretty tough statement, isn't it? Should there be, does that lower quality, or does it increase quality of health care in a country or in countries that can't afford it? So this is their definition of five types of mid-level cadres in Africa. So these are countries like Mozambique, Ghana. There are a number of different countries, and each country is different. Okay, so it was dependent on what they needed. So some of them are indirect substitutions. You're a nurse, you're given tasks as a doctor, it's a professional, has some background, you're given more tasks than do that with doctors. Okay, not necessarily more education. Direct substitution, substituting an existing profession with new and different cadres. They're called a lot of things. Clinical officers, surgical technicians, and what's interesting and a little concerning here, and it'd be interesting to hear your response, some of it is partial substitutes. You take somebody out of high school, out of gymnasium, out of 12th grade. They haven't gone to college. You give them a couple of years of training, and you ask them to do certain tasks. All right? That's a partial, and when they can only do so much, they treat the blood pressure, but when the blood pressure doesn't, come down, then they give them to the doctor. Okay? But the true or full substitutes in some places in 3 years, they're training surgical technicians, and they are independent, functioning like a surgeon. 3 years out of secondary school.
Yeah, so in fact, the story in Cape Town, the first ever human-to-human heart transplant in the world that was done in Fortescue in Cape Town involved Dr. Chris Barnard, but his assistant, who was a black and African, was kind of like a lay person, for all the descriptions. So there's this debate now saying, well, why can't you give him credit as well for performing the first ever heart transplant? But the argument is, well, he was not really a doctor, he was just passing the scalpel, but he had so much involvement too, I think he didn't even have a high school, but he literally was involved too in the health center.
So that's one of the issues here, is if in a country that can't afford a lot of medical school education, how much education can you give somebody to be competent and to deliver some quality health care, and what is the limit? So there are three others, intra-cadre skills, that's when they take the general internist,